Hello and welcome to the Ride It Out podcast, the official podcast of Summernats, the world's wildest car festival. My name's Jay Benz and I'm joined by my mate, Owen Webb. Webby, what's going on?
Well, it's interesting times, isn't it? We were hoping to get all those Victorians up for the Burnout Masters this weekend, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Yeah, that is, it is what it is, I guess. You know, it's just we just got to follow the rules and everybody's got to play by them. It's I guess in the long run, it's going to be better, but no doubt that just means there'll be extra tyres smashed by these Queensland and New South Wales guys. They aren't going to leave the burnout pad free just because they're not there. They'll be.
Ain't that the truth?
Absolutely. Talking about people who love burning up tyres. Tonight's show is a mad one. We have Benny, the Mechanical Stig, who's very well known for the Cresta, the 8-second, call it a Crusader even if you like. Then we have Phil Kerjean, who's known for smashing tyres off the VK wagon, TUFFST. And then we have motor racing legend Jim Richards. Obviously, Jim's son is also Stephen Richards. And between those guys, they'd have a million trophies, wouldn't they, Webby?
Yeah, they've actually, I don't think they've got a record I don't think will ever be achieved again. They've got 12 Bathurst victories between the pair of them. That's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Absolutely. Insane.
Yeah. And I make a real point of I'm going to make a real point of that through the interview because I actually don't think it's well known enough for what a great achievement it is.
Yeah, 100%, mate. All right, don't forget that Burnout Masters is on this weekend. So grab your tickets at burnoutmasters.com.au. Come out and sit in the fresh air. It's a big open air event. You can get plenty of space from the person next to you, sit down and just watch skids all day long.
Yep, can't wait.
Mate, I cannot wait to get there. Seriously, I'm going to get there at 2 a.m., sit in the car and wait to just pull in there and just take in the atmosphere, that's for sure.
All good.
There's also some other really good news. For those people going to be stuck in lockdown, we know there's going to be a couple of people, obviously, in Australia, is that the Burnout Masters game has an update coming later this week. So for people stuck in lockdown, get ready. There's 2 new mad cars. There's Nut Out. Obviously, that car's owned by Hayden Wilby from the long white smoke cloud in New Zealand.
Exactly.
And that lockdown lunatic Hold On, who'll be ripping it up at the real Burnout Masters event at Sydney this weekend. So you can also, on the game, I'm told, smash tyres on the Sydney Dragway pad. How about that, Webby?
Yeah, fantastic. I haven't had a go at that game yet, but sounds pretty good.
Mate, I think you're in the skid breaks, you're in there having a go, mate. Come on.
Okay.
And just to mix it up too, there's also some new music in the game, featuring rockers such as Parkway Drive, the Screaming Jets, Skeggs, Polaris, and one of my favourite bands, Powderfinger. How about that?
Yeah, awesome. I love Powderfinger too.
Absolutely. And there's also 2 new other cars, a HQ and an XB coupe, so you can start working on, a bigger garage to house all your cars, and much, much more. So look out for the update for the Burnout Masters game this week for sure. All right, we're going to throw to a skid break, and we'll be back with Benny, the Mechanical Stig. All right, this week we've got a special podcast prize pack from Shannon's. This includes a hat, a keyring, a lens cloth, a pen, and stickers, and an item signed by Jim Richards himself. Get commenting in the comments because that's how you're going to pick up this prize. By commenting in the comments, you could be picked out and win. Good luck. Skid ad. This skid ad is brought to you by Shannon's Motoring Insurance. How mad are skids? right, welcome back from the skid break. We're here with Benny, aka the Mechanical Stig. Lots of people will know you from your YouTube channel, Benny's Custom Works, as well as lots of other cool stuff, mate. How exactly did you get into cars?
Oh, mate, cars have been in my blood since I was a kid. My father and my grandfather have always had some pretty cool cars. Like growing up as a kid, my parents had a LH Tirana. That was pretty cool. And then my grandfather's had all sorts of oddball stuff and different stuff through the years. And I've actually got his HK Prem at the shop at the moment.
Nice. What was your first car, Benny?
I had about 7 minis before I had a license. So I had all mini clubmans. I had, all right through, and then none of them actually made it to the road. So I ended up kind of honing my talents, pulling cars apart through those minis. But ended up moving on to Subarus and mainly Jap stuff. But now kind of come full circle. Now I've got a Falcon and obviously the Cresta, which is Ford powered. So kind of doing the full lap on cars. I've also had a 50 Buick at one point. I had a 53 Buick at one point. So there's all sorts of genres that I've dabbled in. I'm not really aligned to one particular style or brand.
Have you ever counted how many cars you've had?
I tried to keep a run sheet at one point, and I think I stopped counting at about 60 or 70.
Fair play. You've obviously created a lot of noise online over the years. I mean, how did the media side of things come about? Did that sort of just develop slowly, or it's something you wanted to dive into?
I kind of fell into it. It was a kind of a right time, right place type of deal. So I was actually mates with Marty from MCM before MCM existed. And one day we kind of got talking about working on this Daihatsu Mira project. And he invited me to come on, and that was kind of where it all kicked off. And I haven't really walked away from it since. So I think we're about 10 years in now. So it's pretty cool. I've been on and off with those guys. And then, as you mentioned, also doing my own thing with the Benny's Custom Works YouTube channel.
What's the what do you love? Do you think what do you love most about making content now? You're sort of super, well immersed in it.
Sharing the passion and the joy for cars, I guess. Like we'd be doing it anyway, and it's cool to kind of share what we're doing in our story. And things like Drag Week, like that's kind of our pinnacle event that we try and cover for ourselves each year. Unfortunately, this year we're not going to make it due to COVID and shipping, and we can't even leave the country if we wanted to. So unfortunately this year, that's kind of put a stop to that. But we'll see what happens for the back half of the year. Hopefully we can get some drag challenge action or something like that. But we'll have to see how we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you later on, but I might as well ask you now. Just you've touched on Drag Week there. Would that be one of your favourite events?
It's like nothing compares to it. It's a fantastic event as far as motorsport goes. It's really an ultimate test of your car, but also your personality somewhat as well. We definitely had some trying moments last year with the Mustang, although it kind of looked like a bit of a cakewalk on camera for a lot of it. We didn't have any major failures. Like a lot of guys were having a lot harder week than us, admittedly. But we definitely had some long hours, more so leading up to Drag Week actually. But once we got to the event and got everything sorted, it was an awesome time. And you basically spend a week flat out with your mates, either fixing cars or racing cars or both, helping out other people trying to keep their cars going as well. Like it's an awesome event. And last year we actually were battling for 4th and 3rd place up until the end of the race day. So basically you've got to a certain time to hand your last time slip in. And basically the guy that was behind, actually he leapfrogged me, and then we actually raced head to head for the 3rd position in class. So that was a pretty awesome event. And that part of it was just a nice little bit of icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of doing like a lot of stuff on your YouTube channel, do you enjoy the journey of building cars, or do you like the driving side of it more? Which is there, or both are as equal?
I guess I like both really. I guess, racing's just always been fun. I've been drag racing for probably 15 years now. Like I started, same thing what I mentioned before, I've had a heap of Subarus. Like I had a Subaru Legacy RS that we used to take religiously to every Wednesday meet we could get to. I think that was running mid-11s in at least 5 years ago, 6 years ago, which was pretty good considering it was cobbled together from parts and leftover bits. It wasn't a forged engine. So, that was kind of where the passion for racing started. But yeah, I've also been building cars since I was like with the minis. I was 13 or 14. And I started playing with them, and yeah, that's kind of just always been a thing in my life as well.
You still have any minis hanging around?
I don't have any at the moment, but never say never. I wouldn't mind getting another one. But the prices of those things are going through the roof too. Anything with a chrome bar these days is taken off. I've just joined the chrome bar brigade again. I've got a little Sigma that I've been playing with, so that's the current toy. But it's that's just more of a freshen up cruiser type thing. That's not going to be fast. It's not the aim of that car.
Yeah. Tell us about the Crusader, how sort of where the car came from and how it came about in the build, and I guess because it's crazy fast, man. You know, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that car's actually got quite a bit of a story. So going back to my time with Mighty Car Mods, we were going to Japan to shoot a feature length series with those guys, and we looked at the price of a hire car, and the Cresta actually, we were looking on Yahoo auctions and also on the vehicle auctions and seeing what was available. And we actually purchased the Cresta for the same price it would have cost us to get a hire car for the 2.5 weeks we were there. And then at the end of it, we realized that it was probably even better of a car than we thought. Like, we were kind of expecting it to be a bit of a rust bucket or whatever, because we literally bought it online. We'd never seen it. We didn't get it inspected. I think we paid $2,000 for it or something. So we rolled the dice on that. And yeah, when it turned up, it was a super clean car. And we actually ended up road tripping it from Asai car, which is like in Hokkaido, all the way south to the Mie prefecture. So that's kind of like Brisbane to Melbourne, but it also involves a ferry. So kind of Spirit of Tasmania type vibe as well. So once that was shipped to Australia, it sat just in storage for 3 or 4 years. We didn't really, it was never bound to be the car it currently is, but we just kind of ended up getting this deal through MCM as well with Transformers. They wanted to build just like a promotional vehicle for one of the Transformers movies that was coming out at the time, and we ended up building it for that, and it ran 9.9 the first day we raced it. At that point, it only had a very basic Hughes Turbo 400, no trans brake, and it had just an FG turbo engine with a bolt-on turbo and a couple other bits and pieces. So I think it made 450 kilowatts on Castle Hills dyno, something like that. But yeah, it was never meant to be the 8-second car that it is. Like, the best it's run now is 8.1. So
yeah, wow.
And we're gunning for that 7. Like, it's got the mile an hour. So we've just got to get more track time. Like, Sydney's closed, so we don't really have a track to race at the moment. Potentially we'll head north to Willowbank before Sydney opens back up. But the one event that I do want to try and do is Kendall, which is they've got a test day in a couple of weeks, but then their next event's later in the year. So we'll try and get up and have a bit of fun and do that.
A bit of a celebration when you crack a 7 in the car, no doubt.
Oh mate, it'll be a blast. So, but then obviously when it runs 7s, we've got to then make some adjustments to the chassis, and I've got to buy more safety equipment. So to keep continually running that 7-second time frame, you've got to obviously step up your safety gear again. So you basically run out of tech at 8.0. So once you jump into that 7-second bracket, you've got to obviously make some improvements to your cage and get a Hans helmet restraint system and other bits and pieces.
Yeah. Is it in terms of future builds? What's in the pipeline, you think?
I don't really know, to be honest. Like, we're just kind of having a bit of fun with what we're doing at the moment. Like, we've got 4 or 5 cars that we more or less muck around with on the channel, like from my daily FG Ute to the Sigma, and obviously the Cresta's pretty prevalent in that as well. We've got a couple of S13 Silvias and 180s that keep popping up as well, and then we've got the IS200 as well. So it is really like majority of it's Jap stuff, but we do obviously the Barraconen as well. And I wouldn't mind getting into the LS genre sooner or later. I'm not sure where or how that'll pop in. I know everyone there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with LS engines, but I think they're a fantastic platform for the purpose that they are, a bang-for-buck combo. Yeah. And they're just so widely supported in the aftermarket industry. Like, you can buy plug-in looms from Haltech that literally just hook straight up. You've got so much stuff that you can just buy off the shelf for them. So yeah, it's definitely something I want to explore in the pipeline. Like, there's nothing penciled in yet, but I would like to get into it.
Yeah, I think everybody knows someone who's got an LS1 lying around, in some sort of garage, or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
I've had quite a few of them, but I've never done anything with them. I end up just selling them all.
So in terms of what's with the YouTube channel? I guess you're going to always just plan to keep pumping out content and changing it up and doing stuff and lots of different builds. I mean, obviously there's a lot of engagement too. I've looked quite through your channel and people are really, really into your stuff. That's for sure.
No, thanks for watching, mate. Yeah, we don't have a strategy as such. Like, we're more or less, like I said, we'd be doing this stuff anyway. So more or less just covering what we're already doing with our project cars or trips or racing and just kind of mixing all that together and just trying to share it and get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got a memory from have you been to Summer Nights? Obviously you've been to Summer Nights before.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got a memory from there, from the first time you turned up?
The first time I actually went to Summer Nights, I was about Summer Nights 16, I think, and when it was a bit more rough and rowdy and not obviously with the current management. And to be honest, I didn't really like it. I really didn't have a good time. But Andy and Adrian actually coaxed me back to about Summer Nights 30 or 31 in that kind of era.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a blast, and I've been to everyone since. Like, it's just, it's a heaps nicer dynamic. Like, it's way more family friendly, and yeah, I just had a blast, and I look forward to every year. So last year, obviously, the last few years we've had the introduction of Skid Row, and the first year of Skid Row, my Cresta actually was still on its way back from America, so I didn't have a car. I ended up borrowing a mate's Fairlane and having a rip through there. That was pretty fun. That had a supercharged VH45 in it, so another Japanese V8 thing. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah, and then obviously Summer Nights just gone. We were lucky enough to have the Cresta. So yeah, we plenty of Skid Row action, and we also made 1270 horsepower on the mainline hub dyno.
Yeah. Skid Row is a something that's turned in from, I guess, an idea into something that's really pumped up that whole area of that Summer Nights. It's going all day. And it's just
it was a fantastic concept, and I think that kind of takes the tension out of the air, and it gives people a release. Like, you got so much enthusiasm and testosterone just sort of bouncing around the place, and it gives all the people that are driving their cars around somewhere to kind of release that tension in a safe and controlled environment without causing damage to the public or injuries or anything like that. So yeah, it's a fantastic concept, and it's just working so well.
Yeah, I agree. And by the end of it, by the Sunday, there's rubber literally like almost up as high as the concrete barriers, I think.
Yeah, it's impressive.
So tell us where everybody can follow all your stuff, Benny, and check out all your content.
Yeah, mate. Like as we mentioned, we've got the YouTube channel, so it's just Benny's Custom Works on YouTube. That's probably the easiest way to find us. We've got socials, but most of our stuff is covered on that YouTube channel. So yeah, check us out on there.
Yeah, sweet, man. Really appreciate you coming on the show today.
No, thanks for having me.
No worries, man. Make sure you check out lots of Benny's stuff, and we'll see you again soon, mate. No doubt. Hopefully at Summer Nights.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Awesome. We'll see you soon, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Skid Ad. This Skid Ad is brought to you by Maguire's.
Inferno for the first time's made the top 10. And if you haven't seen this car skid before, check this out. Big, blown, powerful, and hits the pad hard and fast.
Big revs. I could tell Tommy was super nervous.
Wow.
The plan of attack, well, we'll see where it goes. That's the plan of attack, and I'll tell you, where's it gone? Everywhere so far. Huge
start for Thomas Beltrame right now, Jace.
Dude, off the freaking hook is how we would explain this one.
Just needs to use some more pad here. Got to get that car moving. Everything else has been perfect. Now he gets it moving. That's okay.
Now he uses the rest of the pad.
Oh.
Listen to the sound, the noise, the ferocity and anger from that 500 plus cubic inch blown and injected engine. The crowd are loving it. I'm loving it. I know Chad's loving it as well. And the tyres are done. Nothing left from this FJ40 Toyota Land Cruiser. with young Tommy Beltrame from South Australia. Chad, what a skid.
That's a jaw dropper.
All right, we're back from a mad skid break. We are here with one of the most humble and most popular guys in the burnout scene, Phil Kerjean, who's also well known for smashing tyres off his VK wagon, TUFFST. Tell me, Phil, when did burnouts become a pretty serious hobby for you?
Oh, mate, cars were always something in my blood. Got that from my dad and all that sort of stuff. You know, he was right into sports car racing in Europe and Bathurst sort of races over here, touring cars. But burnouts were sort of, probably, I think I started in 2000. I know, Summernuts 15, I think, was my first ever burnout. So the first one was at Summernuts 15. Never done a skid on the street, so I wasn't that bad dude that kept getting. Sure you didn't. No, actually, I actually did. My first ever proper burnout was actually legit straight at Summernuts. Was funny story. I had Joe Pagano was actually behind me in the lineup. Yep. My car had only just been featured in Street Commodores magazine back then, and he comes up to me, he goes, "Hey Phil," he goes, "Oh, you got any tips?" And I looked at him, I turned around, I said, "Fuck me, man, I've got no tips, mate. This is my first ever skid." He's turning around and goes, "Shit, me too." Yeah. The funniest thing about that was we actually both went through our burnouts, and this was when you used to come out at the other end, when you used to go underneath the grandstand. Yep. I just remember, my heart was beating, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is crazy. And I sort of got through, and then as soon as I hit the throttle, I forgot about the crowd, and I was just trying to do my own thing, and managed to get tyres off in my first ever skid. So I was like, that was back in a aspirated 304 back then. So, but Joe done the same thing. He done a good skid as well, and then we both ended up on the news, and he got massive amounts of shit. Because being from an Italian family, and he'll tell you this story too, he was supposed to be up the coast for the Christmas New Year period holiday. Of course. He turned around, he told his parents that he was actually he had to work through. So his parents said, okay, if you've got to work, that's okay. But then they see him on TV, on the news, on Channel 7 or Channel 10 or whatever it was. Here he is, Joe, doing burnouts. He went to someone else by himself, done burnouts, and then drove home and got in trouble with his parents. So,
wow. What was your first car, Phil?
First, proper car? I've had plenty of cars. My first car was a Dado 200B. But the wagon was the first car that me and my wife bought together. We've had it for 25, 26 years now. 25, I think it was bought in 95, I think we bought it. Can't remember now exactly, but So that was the first car, and we always intended to do something to it. I don't think we expected it to get this bad, but it was always meant to be something.
So you didn't build that as a skid car originally. You used it. You drove it in that first, didn't you?
Yeah. It was. I always wanted to be a nice, tidy street car. Done the original things. Lowers petted suspension, done up the motor. I had a 253 originally and stuff, and then that obviously wasn't enough. So then we went 304 with a VN heads and stuff, and then it didn't have no roll cage or tubs, but it had a 9-inch and stuff in it. And we went to the drags, and I ended up getting logged by Andrew for going too quick at the time. That was 2001 or 2. We went 1095s at the street track at the old Eastern Creek Raceway, or City Motorsport Park these days. Yeah. And then eventually sort of started going more into the racing. So that's when I bought my other car, the HP Tirana that we had gassed. And then that got serious for a few years. And then when I binned that at Power Cruise one year, I decided to build the wagon as a sort of showy event car that could do everything, do all the different events, still hold its own in the show and shine, but, do power skids, burnouts, whatever. And then I'll bring the Tirana back out. And it's been, I think, 15 or 16 years, and the Tirana still hasn't seen a lot of day. So still got it, but it's rusting away very, very slowly.
It's interesting what you said there about when you tidied it all up and that, because I remember you were one of the first cars to build that car to pretty much an elite standard, especially for a burnout car. And then the great graphic down the side. Tell us your thoughts on that. Where'd that come from, that idea?
Well, the first idea was, the main idea was initially when we first went blown. There was a few past comments that people turned around and said, if I had a blower, I'd do a lot better in judging or whatnot and that. And that sort of pissed me off because I had some money for the Tirana, for the new motor for the Tiranas, and I just ended up going out and buying a blower and a hat and all that sort of stuff. So then we done some paint work and tidied it right up, and then that was when we first won TUFFST. We ended up winning it one year, runner-up the next year, and then winning it again the third year.
Correct.
And then I got exclusive customs on board through with them and PPG and stuff, and we got a bit of a new sort of scheme together, got some new rims, and a mate's missus, Craig Widdett, his former partner, she done the trim, Beck Lloyd. She done a mad new leather trim and stuff, which is still in it today. And then to be different, I wanted to have some old school style graphics, but without going too old school. So we've done this sort of razor style graphic, and then inside it put all the past winners of TUFFST into the paint job.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
So a lot of people that see one side of the car, then they walk around the other side and they go, oh shit, it's different. They don't actually realise it's all painted like airbrushed on, and they don't realise the background story is. Like, and there's even some guys like that have actually seen their own cars on there going, oh shit, I didn't know car was on there. Like they didn't realise what it was about, you know. Like so,
Yeah,
it's a bit out of date now. It's probably missing about 4 or 5 cars now. So I don't know, maybe I have to do some more paintwork. I don't know.
And great concept. I really love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
just something different, yeah.
But with paint like that, no doubt, it's got to irk you when you might just little nick on the wall or something like that. It's got to surely. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, well, when we done the top half of the cars all in PPG Vibrant, so as Owen knows, all these special paints are pretty expensive and pretty fancy. Mm-hmm. So the bottom half of the car is black, but Glenn being Glenn from Exclusive Customs, he didn't leave it standard black, so it's actually called it's got some sort of flamboyant stuff in it, so it's actually got a light flake to it as well. So even when they've had to do fire damage or repairs when I've binned it or whatever, it's not just a simple, just quick black and let's send it. Like it's, they file finish it and make it all mint again, hoping that I don't wreck it again. So that was a big thing when we unveiled the car. We had Charlie Hutton in the car from the States. He was over here for PPG, and first skid there, like out of we got unveiled on the Friday night, and Saturday lunchtime I had to go out and do the burnout, and torched the whole back end of the car, like on the pad, like it was just like wow, and the damage was not cool. Like it was.
No, it
I
was
just
a lot.
holding my head down. So it was not. So it was a bit of a tough thing, but yeah.
Tell me about when you're obviously a part of the first time testing out Skid Row. I remember back in the there was some stuff that you were there, one of the first people to test it out before. This is well before Summer Nats, a few months before. What was that like?
It was about this time of year. It was bloody cold. I could tell you that. It was Canberra around. I think it was like July, August or something like that. But it was bloody cold. But yeah, it was good fun. Like I only got to do one skid in the wagon. The EPA turnaround reckon we were too noisy. So because I had it cost. Like people don't realise how much it costs someone else to do that just that day. Like I couldn't even imagine because there was people from EPA and work cover or work safe and all that, and coppers there, and there was so many people. And then there was people that were there actually moving all the brick walls and fencing and trying to just work out what would work and what wouldn't work and all that to keep the punters happy at some nats. And then so I done one of the first skids, and then they just turned around and said, "Look, just don't bring that one back out because it's just too loud." I was like, okay, no worries, which is weird because there was a couple of other loud cars there as well. There was probably about 15, 20 cars there that day, so it was a pretty cool day. But we had skid truck there, the thing we'd done for farm truck and Asian and stuff. So we've got to smash a few sets on that. So it was all good fun.
Surely you knew then when you guys were setting that up, like this is going to go off. This is going to be something that's really going to change that whole side of the venue, during the event.
Oh mate, I said to Andy Lopez and Adrian on that day, I was turning around. You guys are off your head. And they're going, what? I said, how do you, because I'll be honest, I just never thought that would ever work. And the funniest thing, it's not so much it wouldn't work. I just didn't think it'd be allowed to.
Yeah, the control. Yeah.
Control, the permission wise, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they've made it work so perfect. It's almost been too flawless, if you could say. Like, everyone was complaining about it before Summer Nats, but then once Summer Nats rolled around, everyone shut their mouth because they realised how awesome it was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just been such a great thing. I reckon the only way you could better it now is if you've done a similar idea on the other side of the track. So that way, because what happens is everyone kept trying to do the same laps on that same side of the road, and you're not allowed to turn from the other side of the road, not allowed to turn into it. So everyone just tends to do laps in one direction now. So it's sort of, but yeah, what do? You got to take the good with the bad, I suppose. But yeah,
careful what you wish for.
That's right. You know what, mate? One day it might happen. Like it's
exactly.
Look at that. Like when they turned around first, said they wanted to do burnouts in TUFFST, I just thought, yeah, right, yeah, whatever. Look at it now. It's been going 2 years, 3 years, and it's been killer.
It's mad.
Just to touch on your VK, Phil, there, just for like people who might be watching who don't know. Obviously, it's people. The LS scene is getting very big. You've never gone there. Do you want to give us a rundown on the setup in the VK?
Well, when I had my HP Tirana, I bought a pretty cheap small block Chev, and we done I think I've done about 300 odd passes on that engine, half a dozen burnouts, maybe a dozen burnouts, like comps. And back then, that was a couple of years worth because there wasn't a lot of comps back then, and also a couple of weddings and stuff. So, and that engine, it was only because of me being a tight ass when I was younger that I didn't sort of spend the extra money to pull it down and give it a service and that and find out how the block was. We split a block and that, and it was a standard block, but it just seemed to cut the punishment. So I've always stuck with small block sheds because the parts are reasonably cheap.
Yeah.
Performance is there, so, and I already had most of it set up where the LS was still in the early stages of the LS scene, and everyone calls me an LS hater and stuff, and it's all funny. We have jokes and stuff, and half my mates have got LSs in their cars, and that's cool. I don't care. Like it's just piss take more than anything. But it's just something I've just stuck with the old school motor because I'm a bit more serious, and there's not too many serious LS combos out there that can sort of handle the high RPM. I think probably Rick Fuller's been the only reliably successful one. You know what I mean? Like, with constant success with an LS. So yeah.
I think your car's one of the cars in the scene that's definitely known for sounding bloody awesome. That's for sure. When it's
it's a bit of a different sound. Like I like the sound if it could be a small block version of Loader's car because that's still the best sounding car in the scene. But yeah, it's just it is the way it is. And you know what? I have open pipes too, so I don't want to try to have an exhaust and try to change the sound of it and then start creating fires and other problems. I'm one of those guys that if I do my maintenance, but if it's not broke, don't try to fix it.
So did you actually build the engine in that car?
No, Sam Fennick from West End.
Oh, okay.
West End Performance. He's been building my motors since back in the HP days, since about 2002 or 3.
Yeah.
So I think, he's been taking care of it ever since. So, and touch wood, I think when we get to August this year, it's going to be 4 years old. So,
yeah, he's a great guy and a great engine builder. But you do obviously do all the fuel and all that stuff because that's your business, isn't it? Fuel Works.
Yeah. So I work from home these days. I used to be a painter and decorator, but now I'm doing fuel systems, specialising mainly in fuel systems, dry sump setups. Now we're doing a lot of EFI stuff, obviously, because that's the way a lot of people are going, just for performance and reliability, especially on street cars. But doing a lot of show cars still, still getting a lot of show car work. But we've been flat out, pretty much booked out for the rest of this year. So it's been pretty good.
Yeah, as we were saying earlier there with the whole coronavirus thing, I think people car guys are just finding a bit more money or a bit more time and getting stuff done, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the average bloke that I was talking to a couple of guys on Friday night, average bloke that goes down to the pub, 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, and they're, putting half their pay packet into either pokies or beers or whatever, because they haven't been able to do that for 3 or 4 months. All of a sudden, they're looking at their bank account going, holy shit, what am I going to do with all this? Oh, well, I might dig the project out of the corner. So, and it has really been that case. And there's, I'm not saying all of them, but some guys have been going, you know what? The guys that are building bigger cars, they've just gone, I think they've just upped their level a bit more too. So they were happy with this, but now they've got that bit of extra money. It's like, okay, well, why don't we do this as well? And I think, like you said before, I think everyone in the automotive trades is doing well. The trimmers are doing well. The panel shops are going off their heads. They're not doing as much smash work, but they're doing so much more custom work. So
they are.
The business in general has been actually not too bad. We've been able to survive for it pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
What do you love most about the burnout scene? Say, cars and competing aside, what's part of that? I guess it's more than a hobby to you, but what do you love about it most?
A lot of the camaraderie and stuff. Like when we get to go interstate, back and forth, mates' place and that. They stay here, I stay there. You share houses, and if you don't share houses with them, you hang out with them and always catch up. The only probably negativity about that, and that's one thing we're not going to miss this weekend. We've got no Victorians coming up this weekend, so the hangovers aren't going to be as bad this weekend, I reckon. So we're going to be a little bit better off, I think. But
not naming names or anything. Not naming names or anything.
No,
I won't put any names, but I was supposed to have a couple of people stay here, and they're not staying now. So I was sort of like, while I was disappointed, I was sort of like a little dry smile, going, "Hey, at least I'm going to be healthy Saturday morning, hopefully." So,
Hey, you still got Brasher.
Brasher's coming down, at least he's not coming to my place. That's all right. I'll just catch up with him there. Sounds good.
So how much are you looking forward to this weekend, mate? Obviously, Burnout Masters Sydney at Sydney Dragway.
It's been I didn't do it after some nights. I didn't do any events, so I've done a couple of static car shows. So this is going to be my first skid in 6 months. So it's going to be beautiful. I feel sorry for the car. I think my missus is a bit worried. Is the car going to survive? I was like, I don't know. We'll find out on Sunday. So, but it's cool. I'll get to take, because we're allowed to have the passengers in the morning runs. I'm going to take my mate on the Saturday morning, and I'm actually going to take my old man on the Sunday morning for a skid. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, he understands what I do these days now. He sort of never understood it when I was younger, but he's never had the opportunity to actually come in a car with me. So it's going to be the first time in 72 years that he's going to jump in the car with me. So
that's awesome.
The last time he did jump in the car with me, he said that was when my car was 304 on the street. And he said, this car's stupid. It shouldn't be on the street. So,
so now it's not.
I can't wait to take it for a run on Sunday. It'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a killer event, man. I think, with obviously we're not going to have the Victorians, but that just means more, just as much track time for as many people who are going to want to blow sets of tyres off their cars. It's not going to be a lack of smoke.
I think they'll get enough cars there. I haven't spoken to Adrian or nothing lately, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll get a decent crowd there. And,
absolutely, yeah.
Well, hopefully they're still allowed to have some sort of crowd there. Like, I'm not sure how many laws are going to change in between now and then, but yeah.
Yeah.
It should be all good, I think, and obviously there's still tickets for sale if you want to come and you can. There's plenty of space at Sydney Dragway to sit apart. It's a nice big fresh air event. It's not one of those
big venue. Yeah,
it's not like you're sitting inside a basketball stadium or something like that. You can sit at 20 metres from the next person if you want and just enjoy skids all day. Absolutely.
And the forecast is actually pretty good too. They're saying the next 3 days is going to be terrible, but yeah, they said after that Friday, Saturday, Sunday are going to be mint. So
yeah, good.
Yeah. So have you got a favourite event you've been to before, Phil, that just sticks in your mind? Say even other than Summernats that you sort of. I know you do travel around a bit.
Yeah, favourite single event. It's hard to single them out. The Gaznats events. Like when I went down to Adelaide and stuff, the Gaznats events down there, and even the Mildura ones and stuff like that, they were good events because they're just they were all capped. Even actually Gaznats in Darwin. I remember going around there for the first time I went around. And they said, "Oh look, we're bringing the blown cars out into the track now." And it's like, okay, no worries. So everyone went out there, and within 2 laps, everyone destroyed a brand new set of tyres. So then, they had this 10, 15-minute dead period on the track where there was no cars on the track because everyone's back in the pits already changing tyres. And then basically there was just no rules. It was go there, do what you want. The only thing you're not allowed to do is drive backwards. So you can't turn around and do donuts and then go the wrong way up the track. You can do donuts, you can drift around the corners, loop it, do whatever you want, smoke the whole straight out, but you got to keep going in the direction of the circuit. Is that the only rule? Really? Don't drive backwards. And that were just fun events. And because it caps, you guaranteed track time. The old days of Power Cruise were really good because there wasn't too many cars, so you got track time. Now you got to sit in the lineup. If you haven't got the money to buy the garages and stuff, you got to sit in the lineup for hours, and it just sort of ruins a bit the event. For the guys that want to actually give their car a good flogging. So,
what about your event that you held at Dubbo? That was all pretty good as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had no dramas there, and then I moved on to concentrate on fuel works for a bit longer, and then Donna went her own way, sort of thing, and then me and my wife Natalie, we done Burnout Outlaws 4 times in Sydney, but sort of just couldn't get the bums on seats, mate. The whole people don't realise how much the live streaming sort of really affects the bums on the seats, and without the bums on the seats, you don't cover the cost. So so we lost a fair chunk of change out of those 4 events, and not prepared to sort of risk it again, until I find some sort of sponsor to help pay for the bill. So but that's part of life, You learn it, and the events themselves are good, and everyone enjoyed them, but financially not viable, basically.
Yeah. So with the VK, Phil, what's the plans? Are you going to keep it pretty similar setup, you think, for as long as it takes to grab a trophy? You really want that Burnout Masters trophy, I'd imagine.
Oh, the Masters one will be good. I've got the normal comp one, and that's I've got 3rd again this year. But you've always got to sort of set your goals and keep chasing them, I suppose. But I'm not going to change the combo and rev it any harder or anything. We turn it to 8,000 now. Car's been good. But I've got a couple of little plans that we're sort of hoping to do. Well, I was going to do them this year, but just because of the amount of work I haven't had time. But we're going to sort of do a bit of a retro thing from back when the wagon was first brought out. So that'll probably be not for this Summernats, it'll be for the Summernats after. So it's a bit of an early thing, but
I certainly would like to see you win one, mate. You can certainly pedal on that car, that setup on that car. It's a crowd favourite, and it sounds as sweet as it's no doubt not far away.
Oh well, just got to keep it off the walls.
I wasn't going to go there,
Oh no, they said ever since I put the VK panels on it seems like it'd be a magnet to fiberglass and plastic.
So do you get nervous before, especially a big event, say like Summernats, do you get nervous before you go out?
These days not so much. No, I used to actually, even when I was drag racing, I got that used to it. I sort of actually started falling asleep in the car while we were waiting in the staging lanes and stuff. You get a bit bored, sort of thing. It's just now with some of some of that's because obviously the lineups used to be really horrendous back in the old days. They've changed it, so now you've got time, so you know what time to show up for your slots. And if you qualify, if you're lucky enough to get into the Masters, well, at least you know you don't have to wait for 3 or 4 hours. You know, you sort of go out there and you can do your skid. But yeah, no, I don't get too nervous these days. It's usually pretty good. I'm just sort of keen and pumped to do it, sort of. Yeah.
I remember when the lineup used to go, when it used to come in from the other end of the burnout track, it would go all the way up the side of the grass, up the side of the shed, and it was 1,000,000 degrees. There'd be 1,000 cars lined up there, I remember.
Yeah, you'd be so happy once you got past the shed and you started going down the downhill bit of the bitumen because you knew that you didn't actually have to push the car anymore. Like, you could just jump in, pull it out of park and push it back in. Like, it was just, it used to be such a nightmare to push it along there.
Hey, Phil, I was just thinking there, I remember you were at Red Centre, was it not last year, the year before? Did you enjoy that event?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, driving down the street. Yeah,
isn't that an awesome event?
Man, it was just, we were going to do it this year too, but we've had to pull the pin because obviously Gaznats and Darwin's been cancelled. So yeah, we're not going to have the truck going to Northern Territory now. But yeah, so hopefully next year we'll do it. But yeah, it just like, mate, you know, I got to take my young bloke for driving it. You know,
I was going to say, you took your young bloke through on the cruise, didn't you? Yeah.
And my daughter, like at the time, she was only 6 or 5.5, 6 years old. And she was scared shitless of the car. Every time we started, she'd be scared. But because my young bloke Cody was going for a lap with us, she was like, "Oh, when's my turn?" So I was like, "Really?" Like, so then she jumped in and we ended up doing drives with her and took my young bloke for the Macca's run and stuff behind the highway.
I was going to ask you, did you go through Macca's?
Of course he did.
We didn't actually go for the Macca's drive-through, but we actually drove, like, done the Macca's run, me and a couple of mates and that, and then we're actually following. When we were at the traffic lights, there's a few photos going around on the net of the wagon parked behind, at the traffic lights, waiting to turn right behind a highway patrol car. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was just like, then we got into Macca's and it was just packed. It was just, people everywhere. So, no, it's mad event out there. Just, and from what I've only done one, so from what I've heard, they reckon each year it's a bit like some things change and they get better and better, and just improvements made.
We learn as we go and different things. And one thing that somebody said there the other day, that I think it was they really liked it because they could do drag racing, they could see the elite cars and they could just see every part of it, and obviously that's learn about the schedule.
Yeah, once you work out where everything is, like, it's a pretty simple town to get used to. Like, it's not that you're in Sydney and trying to work out where one-way streets and stuff. It's all
correct.
It's all pretty open. But yeah, it's just like I said, driving. Like, I remember on the Sunday, like, you know, I'd done a bit of a naughty thing on the Sunday after the burnouts there, but I didn't even put the pipes back on the car because I remember you asked me can I bring the car back and park it on the display when they have the presentations and stuff. I said, no dramas. So because we were on that and we knew how to clean the car and go back and shower up and all that, I thought, well, stop putting the pipes on. We'll just drive and see what happens. And we got through there, no dramas, you know. Like, it was so loud. I remember, like, sitting there cruising about 100, 110 Ks along there and just like, this thing's loud, man. Like, you don't sort of notice it because when you're in the burnouts, you know, you usually got a helmet on, your ears are covered and muffled and stuff. But man, the young bloke, he was loving it. He was just a smile from ear to ear. So it was all good.
Awesome. Where can people follow all your stuff, Phil? All your socials and stuff like that?
I've got the Phil Kerjean Motorsport page on Facebook. I think it's Phil K TUFFST on Instagram, and then I've got my Fuelworks page and stuff. So it's all over Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Really appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Smash the off that VK, mate.
Yeah, can't wait, mate. We'll have some fun. See if we can put a show on,
eh? Awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate your time.
Mate. Thanks, Phil.
See you, mate.
No worries. Catch you. Bye, mate.
Bye.
Skid Ad. This Skid Ad is brought to you by Haltech. Burnouts.
He's known as Mad Mick Brasher in U-Legal. This little high-revving, small-block Chevrolet-powered KE20 Corolla. No care taken whatsoever as he turns it in. Now, a brand new paint job and whole new guys for Mick Brasher this weekend. He's gone back to the nanny white with this car, complete with white wall tyres, the Venetian blind. It's back to very much how it pretty much would have rolled off the showroom floor, minus that engine. And Mad Mick is one that will always give 110%. Hailing from Taree in New South Wales, this car makes about 900 horsepower, and look at that smoke content. I think Mick getting a little lost in there at the moment. Banging on and off the throttle. He's really looking to try and step up from last year. He came 10 in the Burnout Masters. It's short, it's sharp, it's very sweet. The door swings open and the man, known as Mad Mick Brasher, is out to celebrate in style.
All right. So we'll start. All right, Jim, thank you very much, and welcome to the Summer Nats podcast.
Thank you. No, great to be on it.
Mate, I asked this to a lot of the people, so I want to know, how did you first get into cars?
Well, I got into cars as a young fellow, walking home from school, basically, and passing by a workshop that had go-karts and a little three-quarter midgets, which were like a speedway midget, only a smaller one.
Yep.
They used to call them a TQ in New Zealand. And each day I'd pass by and have a look, and then the owner came out one day and says, "Are you interested in cars?" And I was probably about 11 or 12, I suppose. And I sort of said, yes, yeah, da-da-da. And so he gave me a job sweeping the floors at the shop after school.
Yeah, right.
So that was all good. And then I just got into things mechanical, and then sort of decided to try and get a go-kart, because karting in New Zealand was just started.
Yep.
And of course, you couldn't buy a kart. You had to make it, because they didn't sell karts. It was too new.
Yeah.
And so my dad made a kart, and we went karting for quite a few years, until at the age of 15 you get your license in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So to get my license, and then just start tinkering with cars, more or less. But the object of the exercise when I first got my license, obviously, was to get a car and race it. I had no idea of what that would take, or what it would entail.
Yes.
But sort of eventually, I think I was about 16 and a half, I suppose, when I first went in a competition. And you had to go in a hill climb, a loose metal hill climb.
Yep.
And you had to go into a straight sprint, just like a standing quarter mile, and a bench sprint, which was around a little circuit, but one car at a time. So once you'd done that, you got your competition license. They put 3 stripes on the back of your car, so that if anyone coming up behind you would know that you're a learner, and just be very careful.
Yeah. What sort of car was that? You did that
a 105 Anglia, 63 model. Yeah, 62, 63.
With the sloping back window, that little Anglia.
You know it. You know it.
I love them.
In their day, they were really good, really good.
So that was your first competitive race to get your license?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Unreal. But isn't it interesting, with New Zealanders, they are so resourceful, I guess, because you didn't have a lot of things, as you said there. You couldn't buy go-karts, so you had to make it. And nearly through that 90s and 2000s, nearly every Formula One team had a Kiwi on it, because they was just so resourceful. They could turn their hand to anything.
No, exactly. I mean, you had to you had to modify your car, you had to fix your car, you had to build it, because you couldn't. No one else did it, and apart from that, you couldn't afford it. So they were great days. They really were. And
that's what makes you, what I guess, makes you such a good driver, because then you understand the car. You know what makes it work, and you sort of know when to lean on it, when to take it easy, and you understand your car, don't you?
No, exactly right. And mechanical sympathy is one thing you learn from a very young age, because you know that whatever goes bang, bang in the engine, it's going to cost you money to fix it. So you'll be very, very careful that it doesn't happen, But no, I think New Zealanders are quite resourceful, because it's a very small place compared to Australia or whatever. Mm. But the enthusiasts that are there, the car racing enthusiasts, are huge. I mean, they're really, really, we had some absolutely great cars. We used to invite some of the Aussie drivers over to the racetracks in New Zealand to drive at sort of Christmas, January.
Yeah.
So we'd raced against some good quality Australian opposition. Yeah. But of course, we never had the chance to go to Australia. They come over here.
Yeah, but and speaking about that, I think it was 74. You had your first taste. You came to the mountain to take it on in an LH Tirana. Is that correct?
No, that's right. A friend of mine who I'd driven with and against in New Zealand, called Rod Coppins, and he used to run a car in the same class as I did, which was like a sports sedan class.
Yeah, okay.
And we'd also done a few of the New Zealand equivalent to Bathurst, which was the Benson Hedges 500 and the Hardy Ferrari 500, which were for New Zealand production cars.
Yeah.
So they were dead standard as they come off the showroom floor, basically. So we'd done a few of those together. So Rod decided that he'd love to go to Bathurst. I hardly knew what Bathurst was, to be honest, because there was no magazines to read about it or anything like that. So, but eventually I realised what it was, and so I went over as Rod's co-driver, and Rod sent a guy, a friend of his, his nickname is Jandals, guy in New Zealand. He's still with us today, Mark Sheehan. He went over, picked the car up on an old trailer, and then went and prepared it. Basically, one or two guys prepared it, and then ran it to Bathurst and come third.
Yeah, wow. What did you find that intimidating, like the track itself, as a lot of people say about Bathurst?
No. Because you don't think of those things.
Yeah, right.
All a young driver or even an older driver sees is a track. He doesn't see that there's a 500-foot drop one side or barbed wire fence or whatever, because you believe in yourself. You're never going to go off the track.
Yeah.
You think, oh, I'm in charge and I'll blaze around here, no problem. So I wasn't daunted at all.
Yeah.
But probably later on you realise, geez, that was a big effort,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I just hear now with the whole 12-hour production thing, and I've talked to a lot of the overseas drivers that come out for that. It's all they've ever wanted to do was come and race at Bathurst. It is such an iconic track, isn't it?
No, it certainly is. I mean, and obviously it was, it would have been, and it probably was one of the things I'd love to do, but I could never afford to do it by myself. So I didn't even think about it. I just was happy to race my own little cars or big cars in New Zealand and be happy with that. But until I got you could say the offer to go, and and Rod had to pay my airfare and everything to get me over there because I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you realise that there is another world outside New Zealand.
So in the middle of 75, I think it was, you brought that famous Sid Chrome Mustang to Australia. How did that come about then?
Well, that basically came about because the sponsors in New Zealand, when we built the car, were Sid Chrome Tools, and they were just opening up a new division in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And all Sid Chrome Tools was in New Zealand was one man who had an office in Newton and Auckland, and he'd go around the country selling tools. And when he got back from a tour of the country, virtually, he'd order them, they'd come over and he'd distribute them. Wow. So they were trying to get a bigger profile. And so I approached a guy that I knew who was an advertising executive. He just happened to handle Sid Chrome's account. So I told him that we wanted to build a Mustang. And he said, righto, no problem. He said, have you got a proposal? I said, no, I haven't got anything. And he said, okay, well, I'll do you one. And so he did a little proposal asking if Sid Chrome would be interested in full sponsorship on a Ford Mustang, because we thought, my little group of guys who were all friends, thought, no, we'll go Mustang, because Mustangs were probably the most competitive thing at the time.
Yeah.
Other than the Camaros and that, but Mustang was the one we chose to go with. Anyway, he approached Sid Chrome and he said to me, how much money do you need? And so this is 1971. This is when we built the car. And I said $12,000. We had to buy a car, a road car, and turn it into a racing car and race it on $12,000.
Wow.
So that was how we started with that particular car. Yeah. When the contract period finished with Sid Chrome in New Zealand, they still owned the car, because I said that they would own the car, therefore being able to recoup a little bit of money. I didn't need to say that, and I don't know why I did, because I could have had the car.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a friend of mine who's a used car dealer in Auckland, a good guy by the name of Jerry Clayton. I was working for him at the time, repairing second-hand cars. And he said, listen, why don't I buy the car off Sid Chrome and then get the Sid Chrome Australian company to sponsor it, and we'll go to Australia. And I just had been married and just, didn't really know what I was doing travel-wise.
Yeah.
So anyway, as it turned out, he bought the car. He got sponsorship from Sid Chrome Australia to run it for a season. And so we shipped it over and ran our first meeting at Sandown in July of 75.
And won both races.
Yes, we did. We only qualified fourth because it was dry and a new circuit. And there was Alan Moffat, there was Bob Jane, Brian Thompson, I think there was. Anyway, there were good names there. And anyway, on the race day, it rained and we won both races. So all of a sudden we were unknown stars.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like you had become, I guess from that, and become known as the Rainmaster. And is that because you raced a lot in New Zealand in the wet, or because of your dirt track speedway, your car control? What do you reckon?
Well, I suppose it was a bit of everything because, I mean, realistically, I hadn't raced that much in the wet in New Zealand. And now and again, of course, but, people often say, well, what's the secret about driving in the wet so well? I said, well, basically, you've got to make sure you've got good tyres and just pretend it's a dry track and it's a bit slippery.
Yeah, and car controller. Interesting. It's something to do with New Zealand because you have a look at like Scotty and Shane Van Gisselin. They're actually really good in the rain. So it must be something to do with all you Kiwis, eh?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, it was different in my day, obviously, than it is now. But I mean, you just tried as hard as you could. And if you didn't win, it didn't matter. But of course, nowadays, you've got to win.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned there a couple of names, and you raced against some of the greatest Aussie drivers of all time in Moffat and Bob Jane, Brian Thompson, Gossie, JB, Dick Johnson.
Yep.
Who would you rate as not so much the best driver, but the best racer? Who did you like racing against?
Well, I'd probably like racing against anyone who what would you say, had confidence in the way that I drove.
Yeah.
And I had the confidence in the way that he drove, as in, if you're having a really good race, it meant that you could actually pass someone around the outside on a bend, and knowing that they wouldn't run you off.
Yeah.
And at the same time, then you would have an alliance with them, more or less, that you wouldn't do either to them. So that made fantastic racing. But I mean, now the stakes are too high to drive on the outside of someone and hope that it doesn't put you off,
Yeah.
But the best drivers were different drivers in each class that I ran. I ran production cars, sports sedans, touring cars. But most of the guys at the front of the field are good because they realise if they crash into somebody, they may not finish the race themselves. So they're pretty careful, It's probably down the mid into the back of the field where the older, the young guys are reasonably desperate to get a result, where they don't really think too much about what damage they do.
So you didn't really name anybody, but is there anybody you particularly like racing against?
Well, I mean, listen, all the front guys. I mean, Bowie was a terrific driver, hard to pass.
Yes,
well known for that. Would not give up anything for nobody, but fair.
Yeah.
If you'd finally sort of done a job on him, then he would realise that was that, and away would go again. But listen, Dick Johnson, Brocky was a gentleman to drive against.
Yeah.
Not that I ever drove that much against Pete.
Against him.
So I drove with him at the Bathurst and Sandowns and stuff. But But having watched him, obviously over the years, he was a real gentleman, but absolutely wanted to win.
Yeah.
But he would give you room where room was needed.
I'll get onto that in a minute, because another thing I wanted to ask you was you also seem to be the go-to guy. Everybody wanted you to drive with them as their co-driver, and again, you've driven with Gossie and Mark Scaife and of course Peter Brock. Who did you really like driving with as a co-driver? Anybody in particular?
Well, I think the probably the best fun and personal satisfaction that I had was driving with my son Steve. As a co-driver, not a lead driver. I went and drove with him just to help their team out, type of thing.
Did he tell you what to do? Did he tell you what to do?
No, but I didn't tell him what to do either. So we got off to a good start.
That's great.
But Scaife, Tony Longhurst, because mainly they were in the era that I did well. And like Tony and I would drive together at the long distance races, and he was terrific. Scaife probably was when I say one of the best to drive with and against, but with especially, because he did all the testing of the cars.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't do any testing because there was no need to do that. So whenever I got in the car, if Scaife set it up the way that he wanted it, then I adapted to how he wanted it. But how he wanted it was as fast as it could go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it didn't matter if it had a little idiosyncrasy of some sort. We'd both drive. I would drive around whatever I thought the problem was. Not that there was any problem. He was really good at setting the cars up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Also, I just was thinking about some of the makes and vehicles and different types of cars you've driven. You drove for Volvo, Holden, Ford, Nissan, BMW. You also raced the cars, you said, the touring cars, and you even done a bit of NASCAR, didn't you, when it was here in Australia?
Yeah, NASCAR, international rallies, rallying in New Zealand, Speedway. Yeah, no, I've done everything. Porsche, Carrera Cup, all that sort of stuff. Mainly because I just love driving. I love cars, and I have done all my life. And so the chance to drive something different than something else was always appealed to me.
You've done really well with the BMW, the JPS BMW. That must have been a good part of your career.
No, it was. I mean, that was probably one of the most successful times in my career was when I joined BMW. But in the BMW team as well, Frank Gardner did all the testing. So I really just did the driving in the races, the qualifying in the races. And I got to practice, but I wouldn't go to Sydney, for instance, to do a test day. Frank would do all that. So you could say it was it wasn't easy, but it was just, I could get on with what I was doing in Melbourne. And Frank would get the car prepared. And when I arrived, he'd say, right, hop in, young fella, and away you go. It was quite nice to have someone call me young fella once in a while.
Yeah, I remember those days well, actually, and the beautiful looking car. It was so well presented, wasn't it?
No, it certainly was. The black and the gold looked magnificent, but gee, they get dirty quick.
Yeah. What about any of the others? Volvo? Do you enjoy driving? I suppose you enjoy driving anything, but does anything stand out to you with other cars?
No, the Volvo was brilliant to drive, and the last one that I drove obviously was the one that we won Bathurst in, which had won the British Touring Car Championship.
Yeah.
And that car, you would hardly know that it was front-wheel drive. It was just an absolute little rocket. And I think if you ask anyone who drives Super Tourers, it's when they're set up properly, you would hardly know they're front-wheel drive.
Yeah,
which is great. And they were terrific to drive. Really, really good.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned Steve earlier. Between you and Steve, you've won Bathurst 12 times. I reckon I use you 7, and like I said with Steve, 12 times. That's amazing. So, I don't know whether people actually. I made a point of that because I don't think people realise what such a great effort that is.
No, I reckon it's a terrific feat. But
it is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, some dads play tennis and their sons play tennis, but motor racing is a bit different, where you have no expectations of your kids or your son or daughter or whatever to follow in your footsteps, because you know how much a hard job it is.
Yeah.
Get in there. The easy part is driving the car. It's physically get in there. If you can't get with a good team, the right team, you're not going to go any good. If you don't got the right budget, you're not going to go any good. So Steve, he did all by himself, promoted himself and all that sort of stuff. But you've got to be a talented driver to be in the V8 supercars now anyway. So he won his share of races. And the fact that we won 12 Bathursts is you tend to sort of skip over it.
Yeah, that's why I made a point of it.
Yeah. So hang on. I've won 7. Steve's won 5.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it'll ever happen again.
I don't either. That's why I made the point. And you talk to people like Glenn Seaton, who probably all he ever wanted to. He didn't win one, and it's to win 12 is just absolutely amazing. So I really did want to make that point. Your time there with Brocky obviously would have been really good. You enjoyed that?
Oh, I certainly did. It was sort of the first time I drove with Pete was in '78, and I was in '77. I driven my own car at Bathurst with Rod Coppins driving, co-driving for me.
Yep.
And we had a mechanical failure on about lap 50 something, I think. So we didn't finish, and I had no money left, as in sponsors had pulled out. And virtually it was probably not going to drive again. And all of a sudden I got a call from Brocky's accountant, would you believe?
Yeah.
And he rang me and asked me if I wanted to drive with Peter.
What'd you say?
I said,
let me think about that.
Yeah, I reckon I could, probably.
Let me think about that for about 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he tempted me with $5,000 to drive with Pete. This is in '78. And then I got a small percentage of the prize money. But because that particular year, you had lap money. So you got a certain amount of money
if you
for
led.
the laps you led.
Yeah, right.
And I think the prize pool was about $100,000
Wow.
because you had this trophy, that trophy, this company, that company. So it wasn't just the first place.
Yeah.
It was all the other little things that went along with it. So I ended up being able to eat for another year.
Wow. You thought, how long's this been going on, eh?
No, exactly.
Yeah, and Pete was good to drive with?
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I never really, I met Pete, heard of him obviously, and said hello, had a nod in the pit area. But I only really met him properly until we drove from Perth to Melbourne together, non-stop, in an XB Falcon.
Wow.
It was during the pilot strike. But
right.
Brocky was terrific. I mean, he never ever said, "Oh, hang on, we don't want you to do that or don't want to do that." He just let you do exactly what you wanted, how you wanted. And but I think it's the old story. I think he had confidence in the fact that I wouldn't do anything stupid. Yep. I'm not going to go and try and outshine him by any means.
Yep.
And I just did the job that he employed me to do. And I think that he appreciated that. Given that, the last time we won Bathurst in 80, I stayed in to drive across the finish line.
Yeah.
Now, he's never done that before, apparently. This is many years ago. So that was an indication that he sort of trusted me.
What car was that?
That was in the Commodore.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, first of the Commodores.
Yeah, wow. That's fantastic. And obviously, as you did mention earlier with Steve, but that was probably the most enjoyable, I guess, winning with Steve. Or driving with Steve.
No, we didn't win with Steve. We got
drove with him.
We came second.
Yeah.
And that was like a win because it was just no other father and son have done that.
No.
And ended up on the podium at Bathurst. But we never, in our wildest dreams, thought we would come that close. We thought we'd be competitive, but I mean, of course, Yeah. But it was great times. Terrific.
He's definitely a chip off the old block. Steve's an awesome driver as well and can drive anything. I've followed him fairly closely his career and caught up with him at quite a few events as well. Yeah, great guy. No,
he is. He's good. He's been to Bathurst nearly as many times as me. But starting off as a young fella, about 4 years old, 3 years old or something.
He had no choice there. No choice.
We'd drive up every year, all the kids and everything, drive up and treat it as a family holiday.
So what do you drive today? What sort of car you drive on the road?
I've got a Porsche Macan, the little SUV.
Nice.
Which is good thing. I've had that for a few years.
Yeah.
And I've still got the race cars.
I was going to ask that. Mr. C in the background there. So you obviously still race Touring Car Masters.
No, I don't. No. I stopped probably a year and a half ago.
Okay.
But I've still got the cars. So I haven't sold the cars. I kept the cars.
Yeah. I can see behind you. You also got a Nissan. What else you got in your collection there?
Well, the Nissan is the car that I won the 1990 Australian Touring Car Championship in.
Yeah.
And I own the BMW M3 that I won the 87 Australian Touring Car Championship in as well.
That's fantastic.
So so I got them a long time after the fact that, because initially no one wanted to buy them.
No.
And because there was nowhere to race them.
Yeah.
Well, then when the Heritage Touring Cars and the Group A and that came on, I went and bought them for old time's sake, more or less. But all of a sudden, they became a class that you could race in as well. So I've raced the Nissan a few times in that class. It's been terrific.
Yeah, that's good. So what do you do any racing at all now? What are you doing now?
To be honest, all I do is the Heritage Touring Car, but I do about 3 meetings a year.
Yeah.
And that's in the 635 BM that I raced over here, which now lives in New Zealand. And we do 1 or 2 meetings in New Zealand and usually sometimes Phillip Island in the Heritage Touring Cars. Yeah. But that's about all. I do some Porsche Club sprints. I'll do a few hill climbs. Still do the Target tours. So not the competition, but the tour.
The tour,
which is virtually as good as the competition.
Yeah.
For enjoyment purposes, it's fantastic. So anyone who think they want to have a really good time and enjoy themselves, they should go and do it.
Yeah. And I've seen you at Motor X and Summit a couple of times. Have you enjoyed that other side of the show cars and that type of thing?
No, certainly have. I mean, the fans are a huge thing when it comes to motorsport. They follow drivers, they follow cars, and anything that you can do to mingle with them and mix with them is terrific. And I'm a car person. I love cars, still love them. And every day of my life, I come in the workshop, and I might only come for a half an hour or so, but I'm always here just tinkering around. But it's great to see the enthusiasm and the brilliance of these guys who build the rods and the special custom cars. I'm amazed every time I go to a show like Motor X or Summer Nats. Their workmanship is just out of this world.
Yeah, it is, and it's another really interesting and significant part of motorsport, isn't it?
No, it certainly is. Yeah. And there's all kinds of motorsport. Lots of motorsport you don't even race. Yeah, it is motorsport. It's not motor business, although it is now.
Yeah, and it all consumes money.
Exactly.
Hey, I just thinking when we've been chatting there, did you ever race against or know Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon, people like that from New Zealand?
No, I never raced against them. I was just coming on when Bruce left to go overseas.
Yeah.
Chris, I have since met and chatted with. He's passed away now.
Yeah.
But in his later years, when he was retired, he'd go to some of the meetings, and he represented Toyota at quite a few of the meetings and that.
Yeah.
But lovely guys. I mean, Denny Hume was a friend of mine who stayed at our house occasionally.
Yeah.
And he was just a fan. I mean, the drivers of that era were ultra brave, and it's a bit like they didn't know that you didn't need a roll bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they, the fact that when they started, they didn't use seatbelts. So if it rolled over, they'd fall out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just incredible. But of course, you never think of the bad parts.
Yeah.
You don't think of how unsafe it is. You don't think how dangerous it could be. All you concentrate on is driving your car.
Yeah, as you were saying. Did you ever do Pikes Peak?
No, I never did Pikes Peak. No.
Yeah. That's another, but it's world famous. And I'm just thinking as we're rattling off there, New Zealand's such a small country, but it's got such a famous event, and it's so many famous drivers and come out of that small place.
No, they have. Exactly right. And, it's just a testament to the way that everyone's brought up and the work ethic everyone sort of adheres to, If you can't buy it, you've got to make it.
Got to make it, exactly. So what's coming up? I know you're stuck right in the middle of the whole pandemic down there in Melbourne again, but what's coming up for you in the future?
Well, you could say I'm retired, but still doing a little bit of promotional work and have a drive occasionally, and thoroughly enjoying it.
That's good.
Get out of bed a bit later and come to the work a bit later and go home a bit earlier.
All right, mate.
It's terrific.
Look, I just want to thank you again for your time, but I really want to congratulate you on such a fantastic career, and you've been awesome, great driver and a great person. So thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Nice to be here.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Skid ad. This skid ad is brought to you by Street Machine. Oh yeah.
All right, we're back from the skid break. Webby, what a mad show, mate.
Yeah, fantastic. Again, great guys. Plenty of information there. And yeah, Phil's was good. And then, of course, we finished off with Jimmy Richards. He is really a legend, isn't he? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We had Benny, the Mechanical Stig, at the start there. Yeah. He's you were having a nana nap, I think, then, Webby, were you?
I was. As you had a nana nap when I was talking to Jim.
Mate, it was great, I'll tell you.
It's good, really good.
Yeah, great show. A lot of guys from different sort of walks of life, like I guess one guy's sort of like a content creating, guy who tinkers with a lot of cars with some pretty popular sort of YouTube people. Then you got Phil, one of the, you call him a heart and soul of the whole burnout scene almost, like he's been there for a long time.
Yeah. And Jim is just like that typical New Zealander started with from nothing. Because they couldn't buy anything, they actually built everything. He built go-karts for himself, and then right through to all his cars, and then that's why I reckon people like him are such good drivers, because they actually build them, they understand the car. They actually know, as he says through that interview, they actually know when to lean on them, when to take it easy, and just how to look after those cars. And so that was a really enlightening interview. I loved it.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. Him and Mark on the podium, and people don't think they like the GDR that much.
I actually didn't bring that up, so
I know.
Everybody that's listening would know that story.
Yeah, of course, but it goes down in Australian motoring history. They came and stirred up the scene, those cars, and I think they're absolute weapons. I still love those cars to today. I think looking back, people can appreciate that probably now, but that was a very people love their Holden Commodores and Ford Falcons back then.
Mate, you can't talk about those cars too much, because our producer Jack, mate, he just does into meltdown when we start talking about GDRs. So all good.
I had him on my mind when I was talking about GDRs just now. There you go. All right, just talking about cars like that. If you got an R33 GDR or a an LC GDR, it doesn't really matter. We want to see pictures of your cars that you've been working on while you're at home in your garage. Please send those through to podcast@summonats.com.au. Don't forget the hashtag write it out. If you're going to share it on social media, we might just find that picture and share it ourselves. We've had a guy called Reese from the Gold Coast in Queensland who's sent in a picture of his 1970 XW GS Fairmont with lime frost exterior colour, saddle trim. The car was purchased a couple of years ago, and he's been working on it when he can. He was inspired as a young bloke and has been a diehard fan, Ford fan his whole life. He's hoping to get it to Summonats 2021, get it finished in time. So, Reese, mate, we look forward to seeing you at the event. Absolutely. You've got a few punters to show us tonight, Webby?
Yeah, I have, mate. As per usual, we run through an entrant from each of our events coming up. Mm-hmm. So, firstly, at Red Centre Nats, which is not long away now, got entrant number 40, Brett Manuel, with a white Valiant Chrysler four-door sedan. There's a pretty cool car. For Motor X, I've got number 36, Andrew Buhalis, in this really fantastic Boss LX Tirana hatchback. Yeah, killer car. So looking forward to seeing that. Summonats, I've got number 32, Luke and Tyler Young, in a really cool HQU. So great car again. And Rocky, we've got number 26, Ron Keats, in an orange HQ sedan. So really looking forward to seeing all those cars and all those guys at the events. And of course, just seeing the events will be really good.
Mate, absolutely. Don't forget that tickets for Burnout Masters this weekend at Sydney Dragway are still on sale. Go to burnoutmasters.com.au. Don't forget that Red Centre Nats tickets are still on sale. And the same goes for Summer Nats 2021 tickets and entries, also still on sale. I can't wait to get to all those events. I
reckon.
I'm hanging for it. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favourite podcast subscriber, as well as if you're watching this on YouTube, give it a like, subscribe to us on there, and or if you're watching on Facebook, give it a like and a share. We'd appreciate it, no doubt. That's it for podcast 15. Owen, thanks, mate.
Pleasure. I'll see you Saturday.
Absolutely. I'll see everyone on Saturday, and I'll also see you back on the podcast next Tuesday. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.
See ya.
Summoners!